Alrighty, I hope you have participated and posted on the Q&A board to add to our very own list of definitions on what VR is. Anyway, let's start with our first few baby steps, starting with beginner terms and vocabulary tossed around in the virtual reality world. Firstly, drumroll please. VR. Yes, virtual reality. Though we already defined VR in various ways in the previous lesson, here is a quick slide recap in case we have some goldfishes in the audience. Okay, moving on. Next, we have AR, aka Augmented Reality. Now, for those who are completely new to the whole VR, AR, MR industry as a whole, most people tend to easily confuse AR with VR, but AR is basically described as a technology that superimposes a computer-generated image on a user's real-world view of the real world, thus augmenting or editing one's reality. In simpler terms, something digital or artificially created that is immersed into your real-world view or reality. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be images. It could also be audio and other forms of sensory adjustment made to one's reality, such as artificial smell, taste, etc. Next, MR, mixed reality. Again, also easily confused with everything else, so to make it simple, here is a timeline of differentiation between all the different Rs that you may have heard of, other than the biological one. Okay, so MR, aka mixed reality, is sometimes defined as hybrid reality, involving the merging of real and virtual worlds to produce new environments where physical and digital objects coexist and interact in real time. In simpler terms, it is like the combination of AR and VR where you are simultaneously having digital objects immersed in your real world and are involved in a virtual environment itself that is mixed in with your real world, to put it simply. Next, XR, which basically means XR, which is the general classification of these R-based technologies. But in all seriousness, XR technically means extended reality, where the X is simply a variable for any type of digital reality. It's like a replaceable alphabet for virtual, augmented, mixed, and so on and so forth. Headset/helmet. Alright, so pretty self-explanatory. Headset or helmet, it is the device that you wear on your head to engage in any XR experiences, like a head-mounted device that provides VR for the wearer, for example. VR device. Again, this ties back to the previous term on headset or helmet, but more specifically, a VR headset is a head-mounted device that provides VR for the wearer, whilst a VR device doesn't necessarily have to be a headset. It could even include a phone or a cave environment, but nonetheless, a device all the same. HUD, the heads-up display, aka HUD. That's really about it, kind of like those you see in Iron Man and stuff like that, for example. That would be your HUD. In other words, a transparent display that presents data without requiring users to look away from their usual viewpoints, like a UI hologram or projection. HMD basically means head-mounted device. Quite straightforward. 3D/full 3D, which is everyday people's reference to VR. In other words, anything that has depth and conveys depth to the viewer, either through stereoscopic display or some other way of achieving a three-dimensional look. Immersive, that could be an immersive experience, sound, or view. Basically, any experience that appears to fully involve any sense of the user, like sound, vision, taste, touch, etc. 360/360 VR, aka live action VR, aka immersive video, spherical video, or any video where a view in every direction is recorded at the same time and usually shot with an omnidirectional camera or a collection of cameras. Cinematic VR. Same as live action VR, this term can be considered as a branch of VR that basically is high quality 360 3D or 2D video experiences similar to the previous term. Usually and preferably paired with ambisonic, aka 3D, sound, and some interactive elements, if possible. Panoramic video. Same as 360 VR. It could be a still or could be a video, in other words, wide-angle panoramic photographs of video. Haptics. Devices or tools related to touch, tying into the perception and manipulation of objects, digital or real, using the sense of touch and feel. Dolby Atmos / surround sound is seemingly fully immersive sound. In other words, this is the surround sound technology announced by Dolby Labs in April 2012 that serves as an audio format for creating and playing back multi-channel movie soundtracks, usually used in theaters where they try to recreate 3D sound in an enclosed environment for movies that use the Dolby Atmos format, which lends itself to spatial audio. Similar to 3D sound, and that is technically the easiest way to think about it, spatial audio is the audio enhancement and speaker technologies that reproduce the spaciousness or depth of sound in either a real venue or in a fabricated environment, such as in VR, for example. Next, interactive VR / film, a choose-your-own-adventure VR film experience, a technique used to blend interaction and linear film together to create a non-linear storytelling narrative controlled by the user. Again, a very common goal for a lot of VR filmmakers out there, which we will talk about in one of the later lessons. Oculus, a brand in VR. Now, to be frank, if you Google that, you will get a different definition, but technically Oculus is a VR company that right now focuses on creating VR hardware and devices. Vive, again, another brand in VR, same thing, focuses on creating VR hardware and providing users and developers with the platform and store to experience VR. So, that is about all the basic non-industry specific terms for now. Basically just terms that your average Joe Schmo, an everyday common man, use or need to know about VR in general. Now, the question is then, what about the more scientific ones? The terms that make you stand out far greater than the average Joe Schmo. In fact, the terms that help you evolve to the advanced Joe Schmo. Well then, Joe Schmo, watch the next lesson for those terms.